Hello, everyone. Allan Langer here from the Seven Secrets Center for Sales and Marketing. And thanks for joining me and everyone today for the Digital Marketing Summit that has been put together. I hope everyone has been really enjoying the presentation so far. I'm really excited to be here. And I guarantee you the number one question that everyone's been asking as you're sitting down ready to do this presentation is, what the heck is a sales guy doing in a marketing presentation? Well, the reason I was asked to do this was there's been so many marketing presentations coming up today, but here's the thing. Marketing and sales has always had a battle going on. There's always been a disconnect. And I think a lot of you who own your own companies, whether it's a big company or a small company, there's usually a disconnect between sales and marketing. And when you have that, these are the bad things that happen. So I'm going to show you a couple of these things, and we're going to get into how we can fix all of this with relation to selling after the marketing is done. So just know that when sales and marketing are not on the same page, bad things happen. 32% of companies describe their sales and marketing as rarely aligned. Okay, that means they think that there's nobody, no one talks to each other from a sales and marketing standpoint within the company. 68% of marketers don't know what assets their sales teams are using. So meaning that they're doing the marketing, but they have no idea what the sales team is talking about when they're in front of a customer. And this one is really eye-opening. 4 out of 5 people who do the marketing at a company believe that they know what the sales team needs. But if you ask the sales team, only 1 out of 5 of those members believe that the marketing team knows what they need. So definitely a disconnect, and definitely not a good thing to have at your company. But what happens when they align, when they get on the same page, when they love each other? Well, apparently a lot of good things. These are studies from the Harvard Business Review. One of them is eye-opening. Alignment leads to a staggering 208% increase in marketing revenue. Okay, enough said right there. Align your marketing and sales and you're going to increase your revenue. A whopping 38% increase in customer retention. So think about that. Think about your customer retention now, and then think about increasing that 38%. And then a 36% increase in win rates. Win rates are different from different companies, but it's an increase in sales and revenue in happy customers. Anytime they align up, good things are going to happen. So here's the problem, though. Here's the perception in the world. Okay, the marketing goes out. It's good marketing. You capture a potential lead, but that lead probably does not want to meet with your salesperson. In fact, it's almost universal. I did a study for my book that I wrote, asking well over 250 people that I met every single day, do you actually like meeting with or talking with a salesperson? Not one person, when I wrote the book, said yes. And since then, I keep asking people that I meet, throughout my daily life. And I've yet to meet one person who answered this question with a yes. And that's the problem. The perception of salespeople is not a good one. Here's one of my favorite quotes from Woody Allen. There are worse things in life than death. Have you ever spent an evening with an insurance salesman? That's the perception all salespeople are dealing with from the get-go, from the meeting. That's the perception that actually hinders you from getting in front of a customer. So what does marketing and sales need to do to actually dispel this perception? See, because this is what people think that they're going to meet. They're going to meet the guy, the snake oil salesman. They're going to meet the used car salesman. They're going to meet someone who's not going to talk about their needs. They're going to meet someone who's going to charge them too much money. They're going to meet someone that they don't trust. And in my book, I actually came up with a term for this. I call it a phobia because it actually exists. Now, this is sort of a tongue-in-cheek term, but it actually is true. I call it rip to trustophobia. It's the fear of meeting with a salesperson. It's the anxiety you get when you're like, oh my God, I got to meet with the sales guy. I really need this product, but geez, I got to meet with the salesperson. I don't want to do that. And you, if you're a salesperson, have to figure out how to become the salesperson that people want to meet with. And on the marketing side, you got to position your company to the potential customers that we have salespeople that you want to meet with, that are going to listen to your needs, that are going to ask the right questions and not rip you off and not make you feel anxious. Here's where you don't want to be. Now, I know this is a lot of text, but I have it on here as this is a form that was filled out. I was doing some consulting work with a with a bathroom remodeling company. And this is one of the surveys that a customer sent in after their experience with a salesperson. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but here's some highlighted things. And this was the wife filling this out. She said, "We were not happy with the sales pitch. It was not personal whatsoever, and the representative was just talking at us." You go down here, our representative, I felt that our representative was talking towards my husband and not me. He asked him questions such as, "What do you do for work?" And at the end of the visit, he said, "Thanks to my husband." But then he shook my hand and said, "Beautiful home. Keep up the good work." Imagine if you were in that situation. And then she ends by saying, "I'm sure I appeared very disengaged from the sales pitch," which I was, but that was because he was spewing information at us versus having a conversation and listening to our needs. This is the salesperson you don't want to be, but this is the salesperson people are expecting that they're going to get. Okay? This is where you want to move away from. And to do that, I wrote a book about this entire topic. It's called The 7 Secrets to Selling More by Selling Less. And in this book, and what I'm going to reveal to you now, are these 7 strategies, these small techniques that use the basis of how the human brain works, how society works as a whole, how we all live together as a tribe. All of these natural things that occur as a human being and as human thought process will help you sell not only more, but will also turn you into the sales rep that people want to talk to, that people want to refer. That is a breath of fresh air, because not many salespeople are a breath of fresh air. So let's get into it. Let's get into secret number 1. Secret number 1 is what I call make the switch. And this all has to do with your mindset, okay? You have to change your mindset. See, when you become a salesperson, you normally, if you work in a larger company, you're going to go and do the sales training. You're going to go away somewhere for a week and do the training, and they're going to teach you the sales pitch. They're going to teach you the pitch, okay? The pitch is fine because you obviously need to know the product. You need to know how the company works, all of that stuff. But the problem is the pitch is designed to do one thing. That's sell the product. The pitch is never designed, in my experience, to actually figure out the customer's needs and problems. So you have to change your mindset from selling to helping. You have to go into every appointment with the mindset, "I'm actually here to help you, Mr. Customer. I'm not here to sell you." Because if you actually forget about selling and just focus on helping that customer and figuring out how to solve their problem with your product or service, you're actually going to sell a lot more. Sell the problem that you solve, not the product. Too many reps get caught in the weeds of their product features. It's called feature blow up or feature. There was a term. It's just too many features that people don't care about. If you have 25 features of your product and your customer only cares about one of them, you have to figure out which one that is and focus on that, and not do a feature dump. That's the term I was looking for. A feature dump on them, because they're gonna lose interest and you're gonna turn right into that salesman. So secret 2 is the segue to this, and I call this the helping percentage. And what I mean by this is, any sales organization, whether it's 100 people, 1,000 people, or 3 people, always use the term, "What is your closing percentage?" Okay? I've always hated the term closing percentage because to me, it feels very adversarial. It feels very conquering. It's not a nice term to me. I just never felt like it was a good term. Like if I feel like I'm being closed by a salesperson, it's not a good feeling. So you have to, again, change your mindset, because customers don't want to be closed, okay? Customers want to be helped. So this is what you need to do. Stop using the terminology, "What is your closing percentage in your organization?" So this is going to go back now to not only changing the mindset individually, but now you can start changing the mindset within your organization. So stop asking, "What is your closing percentage?" and start asking, "What is your helping percentage?" I did a whole training period with this solar company recently, and they literally changed everything that they had on their lists, on their boards, on their reports, from closing percentage to helping percentage. And the owner called me a few weeks ago and said that their sales are up almost 40%, and the actual feeling in the company was happier. They were just feeling like they were helping people rather than just out there trying to bang out sales and make as much money as they can. So change your terminology from closing percentage to helping percentage, and that's going to go a long way in changing the attitude of the company. Secret three, we call body of evidence. And this is basically nonverbal communication. This is body language. So now here with COVID-19 and all of that we've gone through, we've certainly stopped meeting people face to face. We've started meeting people on Zoom more than ever in our entire lives. And that's going to continue. That's going to be one of the big changes coming out of this whole thing is people are going to be using Zoom on a much more regular basis. But as we're coming out of this and we're going back in front of people, you have to be aware of body language. Okay. There's so many books on body language, but very few books focus on body language within the realm of sales. So I have an entire chapter about this, but obviously there's three parts of the body you have to be aware of. And here's one question I always ask people, and most people get it wrong. I'll ask people, what do you think is the most telling or the most accurate part of the body to read body language? And everyone always says the face. That is not true. It's also not arms and hands. The most accurate part of the body to read body language, a part of the body that never ever lies, is the feet, legs, and torso. Okay? The feet and the legs will never lie because what the part of your brain that is in charge of body language or does things to your body that you can't control is called the limbic part of your brain. And the limbic part of your brain will do things to your feet to show someone who's actually trained and knows what they're looking for exactly how you're feeling. For example, if you're talking to a customer and you're standing up face to face and their feet are turned toward the exit or turned away from you, they're actually not enjoying the conversation. They actually want to leave. Okay. There's so many little tells that you can look for in a sales situation. But when you get to the face, and this is where it got hard during the Zoom era now that we're talking about, we only had from the neck up or from the shoulders up to look at. So we're trying to focus on the face, and most people are going to be pretty accurate with their face. But if there are people that can manipulate their face, because the face is very easily manipulated, that's where it lowers its accuracy, because people can fake a smile, people can raise their eyebrows when they don't really mean to. So you really have to pay attention to that, and then arms and legs as well. So I can spend an entire presentation on body language, but just be aware. And there are certain tells to look for when you're in a sales situation, and you have to be aware of it. You can't just keep spewing your features and benefits and not understand how the customer is receiving that. Secret 4, I call this selling socially, and this does not mean Facebook, Instagram, Google Hangouts. This is what I mean by selling socially is how is the human being as a person. How do they enjoy and act when they're in a tribe or when they're in with their friends and their peers? It has to do with influence and persuasion. And there's 3 main areas of influence and persuasion that's going to help you sell using the natural order of things, using the human being's brain and how they act within a group that is not only ethical, but it makes them feel much more comfortable talking to you and making a purchase. Okay. So number 1, we call it authority. I call it be the expert. And what I mean by this is you don't actually have to become or be an expert. Obviously, it'd be great if you were, but if you're not, if you're still working toward being an expert, you still have to be perceived as one. Okay. The customer needs to perceive you as the expert in your field, in your product, in your service, because their respect for you and how they look at you is going to rise. For example, I use this example in my book. Let's say I was in the market for lampshades, and I had 2 business cards in my hand, and one said Joe Smith, lampshade consultant. The other one said Steve Smith, senior lampshade consultant. Now, I don't know a thing about lampshades, but I got 2 business cards. Guess who I'm calling? I'm calling Steve, the senior lampshade consultant, simply because I am perceiving him as the expert because of his title. So if there's a way you can work on your title, how you're listed on your website or your company's website, your LinkedIn profile, huge thing. Become the expert, be perceived as the expert, and you'll have a much easier time getting in front of the customer, and you'll have a much easier time selling the customer comfortably. Reciprocation. This is, again, another natural form of human behavior. When people receive something, they're naturally inclined to want to give something back. You buy someone a beer at a restaurant when we could go there. They're going to buy you a beer in round number 2, unless they're a jerk or broke, but it's reciprocation. It's an obligation that we automatically feel. But here's the biggest thing with reciprocation. It has to be genuine. You can't just like at a trade show walk around and people are handing you pens and notepads. That's not genuine. That's just, here's some stuff, stop at my booth. It's disingenuine. So you don't feel the reciprocation light is not turned on at that point. So, but a simple example is if you're meeting someone and you give them something, and it needs, not a pen or something silly, like something nice, but it's genuine. Like, here, have this really nice, this notepad or whatever you come up with. Thank you for meeting with me today. I really appreciate it. And you hand that over. That simple act of giving them a gift could result in your meeting going a little longer, could result in them paying attention to you a little more, could result in them feeling better about you simply because you gave them a gift, and even if they don't know why they feel better about you. And again, that's not manipulation. That's just say, here, genuinely, I'm very, very happy and honored that you met with me today. I appreciate that. Here's a small gift. So think about reciprocation when you meet with people. And then we get to social proof. And this is one of the biggest things. So you're going to sell more, and your customers are going to feel much more comfortable when you align what they're buying with another group of people that are similar to them who bought the same product. You see this all the time now online, especially in travel sites. You see when you're looking at a hotel room, up will pop a little screen saying, 14 people just rented the same room within the last hour, or Joe from Michigan, got this same room 10 minutes ago. That is the marketing geniuses of the online website saying, here is social proof. It's just going to make you feel more comfortable renting this room or even buying a product. You see it now on Amazon quite often. It'll pop up saying 14 people just purchased this product within the last 10 minutes. That is social proof at work. But with relation to you, let's say you sell software for car dealerships, and you're sitting down and you're meeting a general manager of a car dealership. You're not going to talk about how your software works in nail salons. You're going to talk about your software for car dealerships. Now, this, again, doesn't seem like it's rocket science, but it's amazing how many reps don't do this. They'll just go off on tangents and talking about, we have 35,000 clients from all over the country. There's no connection to me. There's no connection to your customer with the 35,000 clients. But if you say we have 10 clients down the street or in this town, you then become a much more comfortable purchase for that business owner, for that customer, because you're enabling social proof and they want to feel like they are part of a group that did the same thing. So these three types of influence and persuasion need to be used as much as you can, because these things will make the potential customer, feel much more comfortable doing business with you. Secret 5 is I call it stories are worth 1,000 pictures. There's a lot of things now about stories on the internet and stories in selling and use stories you see. And what I also don't see is like, all right, how do I use stories? What does that mean? Do I tell a story about my kid's Little League game, or what do I mean? Well, what do I mean by telling stories is the reason why stories are so powerful is as soon as you say these 4 words, once upon a time, or you start telling a story, people pay attention. It's not a feature. It's not a silly technical detail. It's a story. And stories for centuries have proven to be the number one way of communication for people to pay attention. But there's certain things to do within a story when you're sitting in front of someone that are very important. Number one is you need to use emotion and not statistics, okay? You have to talk about what it's going to feel like for the customer to own your product or service, okay? Don't sit there and talk about, let's say it's a copy machine. Here's a great example. I had a customer a sales rep who was dealing with copy machines, and I told her, instead of talking about the copy machine's features, 1,000 pages a minute, it staples back to back, color, blah, blah, blah. Tell a story about your copy machine. And she actually did have a story. One of her clients had a copy machine or purchased one of her copy machines, and the client's daughter was supposed to do some Girl Scout thing, and the printing company screwed up and did not have the flyers ready to go. So he ran into the office on a Saturday and he printed out 1,000 flyers on this copy machine. And she told that story. Well, guess what copy machine and what sales rep feels a lot better to that customer to do business with. Same exact copy machines. She told a story the other rep didn't. So use emotion with your stories instead of the statistics about the product. Use similarity, the same thing I just mentioned. If you're talking to a customer, they want to feel like they're part of a tribe. They want to feel like part of a group, but put it in the context of a story. Let's say you're talking to a customer and they want to do their kitchen over. Well, talk about the neighbor down the street who did a similar kitchen, or the neighbor in the town over, or the story about how the cabinets came in and the customers were so excited they did a dance in the kitchen. Whatever it is, make the story something that they can relate to because they're doing almost the same thing, or they might be purchasing the same product. And then critical, use analogies and metaphors. Think back to high school or your college days and think back to your favorite professors or teachers. Chances are you're going to remember a handful of them, but you're not going to remember all of them. The reason why you remember the ones you do is because they probably used analogies and metaphors to teach their process or their subject. Analogies and metaphors are brilliant in taking something, especially something difficult to explain or something that's very technical, and putting it into terms that someone can understand. If you stay on the technical side of things or on the confusing side of things, your customer is going to be confused and they're not going to purchase. Here's a great example, and this just happened to me. I was talking to a woman who was trying to explain to me what she did, what her company did, and it was some sort of tech giant who it was moving information from company to company or department to department, and she was trying to explain this, and I was pretty confused. I was trying to understand. I thought I understood, and then she said this, and it all came to play. She said, "Picture our company as a river, and every department as a boat launch getting into that river." Well, I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. She used that analogy of the departments flowing perfectly into the river and everybody ends up in the same place. So think about that. Stop using your technical terms. Stop using inside language. Make it easy for the customer to understand. Secret 6 is crack the window. What this means is get rid of the anxiety. People will have purchase anxiety. Okay. What this means is anytime anyone is ready to make a purchase. Now, this is a little more relevant in a B2C situation when you're actually trying to sell a homeowner or, a customer looking for a car or a washing machine or a mattress, things like that. But it also works in B2B because anytime anybody needs to buy something, it's a physical, it's documented that you get anxiety. You're parting with your money, you're going to get what we call purchase anxiety. Okay. And you have to deal with that. You can't ignore it. You can't just pretend it's not there, because more often than not, when they have anxiety, they don't know why they have it. So they come up with the objections. Okay. They come up with, I'm just looking. I need to think about it. Can you email me the quote? I'm not buying anything today. These are all defense mechanisms. These are all ways to alleviate the customer's anxiety that they're feeling. Here's an example to make you understand. Here's an analogy that I'm going to hopefully make you understand what I'm talking about. Because I talk to a lot of people and they're like, no, I don't have purchase anxiety. Actually, yes, you do. When was the last time you were in a supermarket and you're online and you got a full cart of food? And you're online and you're looking at this cart and you're feeling anxiety. You're wondering, oh my God, how much money am I going to spend? This is going to be expensive. I think it's going to be $300. I hope it's $250. All of this is churning in your brain. So what do? You actually reach into the cart, you take out a bag of chips and you take out a pack of gum, and all of a sudden you feel better. Why? Because you did something to try to alleviate your anxiety. It's the same with a customer. The term "I'm just looking" or "I need to think about it" are defense mechanisms. They call them objections in the world of sales, but they're not objections. They're a reason. They're people trying to alleviate the anxiety that being in a sales rep situation gives them. So how do you deal with that? Is you acknowledge the anxiety. Before I would present any price to a customer, I would always say, "Mr. and Mrs. Smith, just so you know, you're going to get some anxiety. Everyone gets anxiety when they see the price. But just remember everything we just talked about. Just remember all the reasoning behind why this is going to be the price that it is. And remember those reasons and realize that, yes, you're going to feel anxiety, and that's very, very normal. but don't let the anxiety make the decision for you. That's a very good way to get through purchase anxiety. And finally, secret 7, I call this my advice, show the price. I'm going to show you 2 different pricing techniques here. And one is showing the price, meaning have the customer bill the price if you can. If you have a product that has a lot of different features that they can build, that they can add to it, don't do it yourself, have the customer do it. And better yet, if they can do it on a computer or an iPad where they're actually touching the screen, even better. You want the customer to own the price. If you just build something and flip the computer around and say, here it is, $10,000, not only is the purchase anxiety going to be there, they don't feel any ownership of that price. But if you flip that computer around and they started building the product in front of you, just like car dealerships are doing now, or car companies online, you're building your car online. When that car is built and you see the price, you go to the dealership, you're ready to purchase because you built the price. You didn't go there and say, oh my God, this car is $45,000. You made the car $45,000. So if there's a way you can do that in your product, do it 100% of the time, because you will sell so much more, because the customer feels so much more empowered because they built the product, the sales rep didn't. And then the final thing I talk about in pricing is put the pricing. We use the power of 3, or the power of proper pricing. I love this story because it's called the popcorn story. It's a little bit of an urban myth from a movie theater manager who wanted to sell more popcorn. So initially, his offers for popcorn was a small popcorn was $5 and a large popcorn was $7.50. And majority of his sales, I think over 95% of his sales, was small popcorn. No one was buying the large popcorn. And he was racking his brain like, why is nobody buying the large? Not only is it a better deal for the customer, but it's a much bigger profit margin. So it's a win-win for everyone. So then he came up with a brilliant idea. He's like, you know what? I'm going to add a medium. So he puts the medium at $7.25. And then he makes the large $8. So now look at this. If you're looking to buy popcorn, you're looking at these 3 options and you're like, wow, that large is a heck of a deal. 98% of his popcorn sales then became large popcorns. The other 2% were small, and nobody ever bought a medium popcorn. Why? Because psychologically, you're positioning the better deal as the better price psychologically. When you look at $7.25 and then $8, it just makes sense to buy the large popcorn. As a customer, you're getting a better deal, but you're also feeling like you're getting a better deal. And the company is also making more money. So think about how you're pricing. Think about all of these things that I just went through, because at the end of the day, you want your marketing team to position your company as the company that the customer wants to talk to. And we're going to send over the sales rep that you're going to want to talk to, you're going to enjoy talking to. And the sales rep's not going to do this. They're not going to reach behind your back and take your money. They're not going to rip you off. They're not going to make you feel uncomfortable, because really what you want to do is have all your customers be like this. You want every customer to be happy to be doing business with you. You want your marketing and sales teams to be happy to doing business with each other, because then it will lead to customers' satisfaction like you see here, and you will grow your business exponentially. Thanks very much for listening. I really appreciate it, and we're going to open it up to some questions right now. Let me just stop my presentation.